what media are you working with lately? Because I've been seeing you're doing some like digital stuff. Is
Yeah,
that okay?
yeah, like primarily do sculpture, but I also do VR. That's kind of like the digital medium that I'm kind of like headed and with like in that aspect of digital artwork as VR that I'm kind of focused on and I'm also and then I do like sculptures out of paper mache. So those are
Oh,
like the
cool.
things that I kind of like work on the most.
What kind of are you doing representational work with your sculpture? What are we talking about? So people can
Yeah,
picture it.
they're representational right now. I'm currently working on a series of like working with toys out of memory and kind of like creating these like wall sculptural pieces that are kind of um like I'm thinking about like notepad papers, like you write your notes and stuff and kind of like bringing that out.
Hmm.
But I'm using like house paint and just kind of like everyday materials that you could find somewhere and not necessarily concerned with like using like acrylics or anything like that. Just like something that is fast and cheap and I could easily use.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you find that you end up saving money that way or not? But because I sometimes it's debatable when I use like fucking drywall
I
to
mean,
make like a super heavy fucking sculpture that that is completely useless, but like I need to make it. But yeah, I mean paper mache is cool as a material.
yeah. I feel like I could make a lot of sculptures with like because I just use like chicken wire under the as the skeleton and then cover that.
Mhm.
And I just buy like a big roll of paper and like Elmer's glue and just use that as just kind of like just going really down to basic arts and crafts, but
Mhm.
just making it at a bigger scale.
Like how big of a scale are we talking?
They're pretty much almost my size, which
Okay.
I'm like 5'4", so they're like kind of like that high. I for some reason like everyone always points out it's like, oh yeah, these sculptures are always like your size. They're never anything bigger or anything less, but they're always like around my size. I'm like, yeah, I just don't want to use a ladder.
I was already assigning dumber, like more profound reasons for that. Oh, it's to your scale, but I love that it's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, no, that's like what I kind of like work at right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it kind of makes me think of how like the stuff in like the propaganda buildings in like the Pantheon and stuff like that, like the Roman buildings, right? They're built with the golden ratio, but it's like to scale to the average man. Like I like the idea of you making a world that's just entirely to like getting accustomed to your size, right?
Yeah. And I feel like that's what I'm also working with VR, like
Hmm.
as well, like because like in VR, I'm still thinking of it as a sculptural, three-dimensional, or like and like digital world as well, because you need to have like a headset and kind of like walk around in the space that
Hmm.
it's put in. And like that, it's also like the objects are still kind of scaled to my size. Like they're
Okay.
never really scaled. I mean, sometimes they're scaled bigger, but right now I'm just kind of like focusing on like my size. And it's always weird when people are like, why is this person so small? Or like, why are they always kind of like the same height? And I'm just like, I just don't want to make it bigger than me.
Is there anything more behind that choice? Because in that case, I don't imagine that you're limited by ladders in that
No,
space. No.
I mean, in VR or in just in general, it's just I'm more interested in creating a fantasy.
Hmm.
And then I don't know, I'm just thinking of like having everything just be the same, kind of in a way. And I'm not really thinking much more besides just my height in relation to it and that. So it's like, I don't know if I'm answering your question right now.
Well, I mean, it's fair if there isn't really necessarily a specific answer with that I'm looking for. Like that happens a lot on the show where it's like, you know, There's plenty of questions that I ask that I can't get an answer to. Even if someone's like researched something and I'm like, wait, and then they're like, I don't know, because it's not what. But that's a perfect example of it's not like what's interesting to them about it, right? So I guess that's what I'm figuring it out. But it is an interesting thing that it is a specific that you're attached to.